Picture this: a woman abandoned while pregnant by her own husband, a doctor who accused her of trying to trap him with a baby. Months later, in the middle of a hospital shift, violent contractions begin without warning. She's giving birth on the cold floor of the hallway, humiliated in front of all her colleagues. When the emergency doors burst open, who walks in? Her ex-husband, now the hospital's chief of surgery. The man who rejected her now has to bring into the world the child he denied. What happened in that moment would change the destiny of all three forever. If this kind of story makes your heart race, subscribe to get more powerful tales like this one. The reception clock read 2:37 p.m. when Vera felt the first contraction tear through her abdomen like a knife on fire. She was organizing files at the administrative desk, wearing loose blue scrubs she'd strategically chosen to hide her growing belly. Nobody at Mercy General Hospital knew that the quiet, 28-year-old administrative assistant was 8.5 months pregnant. "Vera, are you okay?" Jessica's voice sounded distant as pain crashed through her. "I'm fine. Just a cramp," she whispered, forcing a smile. But the second contraction arrived barely 5 minutes later, more intense. This time, Vera couldn't contain the scream. She collapsed to her knees on the freezing floor as reality hit her. The baby was coming now. "Oh my God! She's in labor!" someone shouted. Within seconds, chaos erupted. Nurses rushed with an improvised stretcher while voices shouted medical instructions. "How far along?" asked Dr. Mitchell. 8.5 months, she managed to whisper. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because the father had disappeared the instant he learned about the pregnancy. Because she'd worked double shifts to save enough to raise a child alone. Because she was terrified." But she said none of this. The hospital corridor had become an improvised theater with her at center stage. Employees peered from doorways, whispering, "Who's the father? Why did she hide it? Poor thing, all alone." "I need her prenatal records," Dr. Mitchell said. "There is no prenatal chart," Jessica replied. "She never registered as a patient." The silence was deafening. "Let's get her to the delivery room," Mitchell finally said. "There's no time," a nurse shouted. "The head is already crowning." And there, in the cold, sterile corridor, Vera prepared to bring her son into the world in the most humiliating way possible. Destiny, however, was preparing a cruel twist. The crash of the emergency doors echoed like thunder. Dr. Sam walked with the confidence of someone who commanded not just operating rooms, but destinies. At 35, he was considered one of the most brilliant surgeons of his generation, having just returned from 5 years specializing in cardiac surgery across Europe. When his dark eyes landed on the scene in the hallway, the world stopped. Vera was there on the makeshift stretcher, vulnerable and in absolute agony. For an instant that felt like eternity, Sam stood paralyzed. Because this wasn't just any emergency. This was the woman he'd loved. This was the woman he'd abandoned. This was the child he'd denied. "Dr. Sam," Mitchell's voice sounded desperate. "Thank God you're here. I need help." Sam forced his legs to move. "Step aside. I'll handle this." When he stood beside the stretcher, Vera opened her eyes. The collision of their gazes was devastating. "No," she whispered. "I don't want you to." Another contraction interrupted her, ripping a scream from her throat. "Gloves," he ordered curtly. Medical instinct took over. "Breathe, Vera. You can do this." "Don't talk to me," she responded through gritted teeth. Around them, the staff watched in charged silence. It was obvious. The doctor knew this woman. "The head's already crowning," Sam announced. "On the next contraction, I need you to push." Vera looked at him with a mixture of desperation and hatred. "I hate you." "I know," he replied, "and I deserve it." The following minutes were the longest of their lives. With a final effort that seemed to tear her soul apart, Vera brought her son into the world. The first cry resonated through the corridor. Sam held the baby with unexpected gentleness. "It's a boy," he announced, his voice rougher than usual. When he placed the baby in Vera's arms, their fingers brushed. "He has your eyes," she whispered. Sam didn't respond, because in that instant, facing the woman he'd loved and the son he'd denied, he understood that his life had changed once again. 3 days had passed since the delivery. Vera was signing discharge papers when a familiar shadow fell across the desk. "We need to talk," Sam said in that controlled tone she'd learned to hate. "We have nothing to talk about. It's about Damien." The name of her son on his lips froze her. "You have no right to say his name. You're a sperm donor who ran when he found out about the pregnancy." Sam closed his eyes. "I have a proposal. A place for you and Damien to live. I don't want your money. A house in the mountains, about an hour from here. Isolated, peaceful. No conditions, no demands." "Why would you do that?" "Because I failed you both once. I won't fail again." Vera searched for signs of manipulation. "No conditions?" "None. The house is yours. There's an account for expenses. You don't need to see me or talk to me." Damien opened his eyes and looked at Vera with that intensity newborns sometimes have. "And you? What do you get out of this?" "Maybe a chance to do things right. Not with you. I know I destroyed what we had. But with him. I want him to know that at least I tried. 3 months. I'll stay for 3 months. After that, we'll see." 2 hours later, Vera arrived at the house on Cedar Ridge Lane. Stone and wood construction, cozy yet elegant, surrounded by gardens. What really impacted her was the nursery. Sam had prepared everything: crib, changing table, nursing chair, diapers, clothes, toys. On the dresser sat a single framed photo, her and Sam on their wedding day, smiling, in love. Vera turned it face down without hesitation. That night, as Damien slept in his new crib, she allowed herself to cry for the first time in days. For the first time in months, she and Damien were safe. A week later, on a rainy Thursday, Sam's Mercedes parked in front of the house. He carried 2 paper bags. "We didn't discuss visits," she said. "I know, I'm sorry. But I thought you might need some things." Damien cried from the bedroom. 5 minutes, she finally said. When Vera returned with Damien, Sam was unpacking supplies: diapers, ointments, fruit, cleaning products, and a mobile of silver moons and stars. "Can I?" He gestured toward the baby. Vera hesitated, then nodded slowly. Sam held Damien with surprising gentleness. For a long moment, father and son looked at each other in absolute silence. "He has your eyes," Sam murmured, "and your nose." "Your stubbornness," she responded. "Vera," he said without looking away from the baby, "I need to tell you something. About why I reacted the way I did when you told me about the pregnancy. It's not necessary." "Yes, it is. Before I met you, I was married to a woman named Lauren. We were together for 3 years, and she got pregnant. We were happy. We planned everything." His voice broke. "It was a girl. We were going to call her Emma." Vera's stomach contracted. In her 7th month, Lauren started having complications. Severe preeclampsia. I lost them both. In a single night. That destroyed me. I couldn't enter an operating room without seeing Lauren's face. That's when I went to Europe, to escape. When I met you 2 years later, I thought I was cured. But when you told me about Damien, all the terror came back, the fear of losing you both too. "So you ran first," Vera said softly. "I ran first. And I hate myself for it every day. When I saw you in that corridor bringing our son into the world, I understood I'd made the worst mistake of my life." A tear rolled down Vera's cheek. "Damien still has the chance to have a father who learned from his mistakes. If you'll let me." "It's not about what I permit. It's about what you do. I'll do everything right this time. Even if it takes me the rest of my life." 2 weeks later, Sam had become a constant but careful presence. His visits were always announced, brief, focused on the baby. It was a sunny Friday when he arrived with his usual bags and also a leather portfolio. "I need to talk to you," he said with different seriousness. "These days here made me realize some things. That you're an extraordinary mother. That I wasted 2 years running from you when I should have stayed. And that I want to be part of Damien's life. Not as an occasional visitor. I want to be his father. For real." He slid a document across the table. Vera read, her expression changing from caution to astonishment. "A partnership? Mercy General is expanding. They're opening a new children's rehabilitation center in 6 months. They need someone to manage the administrative side. The proposed salary tripled anything she'd earned before. Why me? Because you know the hospital inside and out. Because you have natural empathy. Because you deserve a chance to build something of your own. And what do you get out of this? The chance to work in the same place as you and Damien. The possibility of being part of his daily life, even from a distance. I'm not buying your forgiveness. I'm trying to prove I've changed." Damien cried from the bedroom. Sam was faster. He returned with the baby already calm. "He's growing fast. Soon he'll be asking about his father. I want to be here to answer those questions. There's a condition I don't understand. Probationary co-parenting period. For 6 months, while you adapt to the new job, I want permission to be present in Damien's life regularly, and after 6 months, you decide if we continue, if you prefer formal visitation, or if you want me to disappear forever. I need to think about it. How much time do you need?" "A week." 3 months later, Vera stood before the bathroom mirror. The transformation had been profound. There was confidence in her posture, determination in her eyes. Damien was now 4 months old. Sam had become a daily presence, respectful and constant. It was her first official day as administrative director of the Children's Rehabilitation Center. She'd insisted on going through the complete process, and to her surprise, she'd genuinely impressed everyone. Her first week passed in a whirlwind. Families responded well to her empathetic treatment. The medical team valued her ability to translate clinical jargon for parents. At the end of that week, leaving the hospital, she heard familiar voices in the parking lot. Rachel, the medical resident who'd been Sam's romance during their separation, stood chatting with 2 doctors' wives. It's absolutely surreal. She was literally the most insignificant employee, and now administrative director? How do you think she got the position? She trapped poor Sam with the pregnancy. Vera straightened her shoulders and walked directly toward them. "Good evening, ladies." "Rachel, what a surprise." "Vera, congratulations on your promotion. Quite a jump from filing papers." "Thank you. Finding satisfaction in helping families through difficult moments compensates for everything. I suppose everyone has their talents. Some are born for great things, others for supporting roles." "You're absolutely right. I've discovered that supporting families requires very specific skills. Empathy, patience, and real capacity to understand what needing help means. Not everyone can handle that." As they walked away, Rachel muttered, "She can dress well, but she's still just what, Rachel?" Sam's voice cut through the air. His expression was cold, imposing. "Sam, we were just congratulating Vera. I'll be very clear. Vera earned her position through merit, intelligence, and genuine compassion. Anyone suggesting otherwise is either misinformed or acting with malice, and I don't tolerate either in my professional environment." When Rachel left, Sam and Vera stood alone. "You didn't need to defend me. Nobody talks about my family that way. My family." The words hung suspended between them. "Thank you for reminding me that strength comes in many forms, and that the woman I fell in love with is still here. Only now she's even stronger." 6 months had passed. Damien was now 10 months old, pulling himself up on furniture and babbling sounds that were almost words. It was a rainy Thursday. Damien was spending the night at his paternal grandparents' house. Vera prepared an elaborate dinner, grilled salmon, steamed vegetables, wine. She'd dressed more carefully, a blue silk blouse, pants that showed her silhouette. When Sam arrived, he stopped in the doorway. "You look different tonight. Beautiful." They talked during dinner about everything and nothing. It was the kind of conversation people have who genuinely enjoy each other's company. Do you remember when we used to talk like this? Before everything got complicated? Before you decided I wanted to trap you with a pregnancy, she responded without bitterness. I was an idiot. Yes, you were. But people change, and you've shown me you've changed. How patient you are with Damien, with situations with me, your present. Vera, I miss you. I know I have no right to say it, but sitting here, watching you with Damien, I miss what we could have been. She walked to the window. Sometimes I miss it too, but missing something doesn't mean it can be recovered. He positioned himself beside her. What if it could be? Not to go back to the old us, but to start fresh. Sam, I can't. Because I'm finally okay. I'm strong, independent, happy. What if I told you that loving you again wouldn't mean losing yourself? He brushed her cheek. What if I promised that this time I'd love you precisely for who you are? What if I told you that these months with you and Damien have been the happiest of my life? Sam. But whatever she was going to say was lost when he kissed her. It was tentative at first, giving her the chance to pull away. But when she didn't, when she responded, the kiss deepened. When they finally separated, both were breathing heavily. I'm scared, Vera whispered. Me too. But maybe being scared together is better than being safe apart. I need time. How much time? I don't know. This changes everything. Yes, it does. But maybe change isn't always bad. That night, after Sam left, Vera remained in the living room, trying to process what had happened. That kiss had awakened feelings she thought were buried forever. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she was fully happy. In love, again. It was a terrifying thought. But it was also a thought that made her smile in the darkness as the rain composed a soft symphony on the roof of the house that had been her refuge. And now, maybe, could be something more. Something like a true home. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get new stories every day. What would you have done in Vera's place? Leave your comment and share this story with someone special.